What could this be? Is it cardboard? Yes, it is. I mean, it's meant to be a smidge more interesting than just cardboard. It even has a fancy name, Enviromount. But as you can see, thickness-wise and looks-wise, this is essentially just a shiny piece of card. So why am I twiddling it in front of you, my friend? Well, I spotted this product to buy on handprinted.co.uk as I was browsing the intaglio plate plastics, and it just sort of intrigued me. It was listed as a paper Drypoint plate, and the little voice inside my head just said, "Ooh, paper, try it, Gemma." And so here we are. I'm cutting this A4 sheet in half. I like to make dry points in A5 or smaller. It's just a personal preference, and I can use the other half another day. And so here we have it. This is our plate. Let's find something pointy and get scratching. Well, hello, you glorious owl, you. This is actually a photo I took myself years ago on our Meet the Owls experience, and I recently just found it and was quite proud of past me. I think it's a nice photo. I'm going to use it as a reference, and I think it will work quite well as a dry point because it does have lots of contrasty goodness going on in the feathers. Also, it's handy to remember, dry point prints come out as a reverse of the plate design. So I flipped the photo so that I could draw it correctly. And now it's time to try sketching this birdie-o. I could trace it onto my plate, but dry point is a sketchy, scratchy process, so it feels right to start loose and unrestricted. I'm just going to try my best to get the essence of owl onto the card freehand, and if it's a bit wonky or weird, it'll just add to the overall playfulness. So in case you're thinking, this is all very well, Gem, but what the heck is dry point anyway? Well, let me give you the bullet points. Dry point is a printmaking method which is most often done using a press, but which can be achieved at home. A dry point plate is most often metal or plastic, and you scratch your design onto it with a pointy etching needle. Then you fill up the scratched indents with ink, wipe away any excess, and place paper on top. Under pressure, the paper picks up the ink from inside the scratches, and bibbidi-bobbidi, you've got yourself a print. You'll see more of this process as we go along in this video, but if you'd like a proper step-by-step how-to guide, check out my Skillshare. I have a class on there all about doing dry point at home, and I also have a blog outlining the process. I'll leave links to everything in the description just in case it's helpful. So this is my dry point needle. As you can see, it's basically a point on a stick. If you don't have one, you could try the point of a compass or a metal skewer, anything which you can make a scratch with. I hold mine like a pen, scrunch gripped. Now begins the slow process of scratching. Well, for me, it's slow. I like to take my time, take lots of wiggly finger breaks because the pressure used on the needle can make hands a little tired. I tend to start with finding the outlines of key shapes, such as the beak and eyes, and then start building up textures and playing with different scratches. You need to press the needle in firmly to get a deep enough scratch, but once you have a sense of how soft the plate surface is, you can play with using more or less pressure to get different line effects. If you can run a finger over the plate and feel the scratches, then you'll know they're deep enough to take some ink. It can be really tricky to see where you've scratched, so it's handy to be sat near a window or to point a light onto your desk so you can hold the plate up at an angle and see where you're up to. Now, in general, when making dry points at home, I tend to use old pieces of plastic cut from food containers. It's a great way to recycle them and it saves me buying plastic sheets new. However, one of the extra reasons for trying this paper plate is that you can cut away the top layer of it to reveal a textured surface. You can absolutely do this with recycled cardboard too, for example with cereal boxes. Check out my intaglio collagraph session video to see that in action. As you can see, by using a craft knife, I can cut around certain shapes and then peel their surface away, which leaves a patch which is rough to the touch. This is a way of creating areas on the plate quickly which can hold more ink, rather than having to make lots and lots of scratches on top of each other. I'm trying it out on the areas where I want most contrast, so in the eyes and the feathers. Most of the time, pulling the layer up is very satisfying, but sometimes on fiddly bits I can pull up a little bit more than intended. However, on this bit I just used a smidge of glue and stuck the flappy bit back down. It's okay. So this is how my plate looks now that I've scratched at the design and torn a few bits away. Hopefully you can see it okay in the light. I know it's tricky. I've tried to include a variety of scratches and marks, but there's really no way to tell if I've done enough until I start inking. So let's go do just that. Before I get the ink out, I'm just going to prep my paper. It needs to be a bit damp when I print, so I'm wetting it now with a clean sponge and then popping it between some hand towels to rest. Hopefully, by the time I've inked up my plate, it will be ready to print with. I'm putting some newsprint paper under my plate because ink is going to stray off these sides, and it'll also help me to move the plate around. I'm trying out Aqua Intaglio ink. Ooh, new thing. Well, only new to me. I bought a tiny pot to see if I like it. I usually just get SD ink because it's cheaper and water-based, but I have been curious about inks which are still washable but act like oil-based inks and are workable for a bit longer. I was running out of my black SD ink anyway, so it was a good time to try the Aqua Black instead. It is super gooey and feels like I'm noodling about with liquid licorice. Oh, that's fun to say. Liquid licorice. I take a blob and scrape it onto my plate, making sure I cover the scratched areas. A little ink goes a long way, and it isn't long before the plate is covered. Now I have a piece of cardboard and I'm using it to scrape the ink around the plate surface in various directions to really push that ink into the scratched indents. I do not know why, but this is one of my favourite parts of the process. Then comes the scrimming! Except I'm not using proper scrim fabric. Instead, I have a couple of loose weave cleaning cloths and I form them into a tight ball that I can hold in my fist. I use this to rub away the surface ink on the plate, swishing my hand in circular motions. I'm not pressing hard, and eventually the plate starts shining through. Can you see that little owly face peeping through? It's up to me how clean I want my plate to be. For my first print, I'm choosing to clean it pretty thoroughly to give me a baseline reference for how much ink the scratches hold and how much I can pull up with just my hand pressure. After scrimming, I've got a piece of baking parchment between my fingers to give the plate a quick polish. And once that's done, here's what the plate looks like. Let's see how a print comes out then. I pop the paper directly on top of my plate and press down. Then I put a piece of newsprint on top of that just to protect it while I do my first attempts at pressure. I use a metal spoon, pressing down in circular motions and travelling across the plate to try and push the paper into the scratches. It's important to try and visit each part of the design, making sure pressure is applied everywhere. and it can take a while to get around it all, especially if you're needing to push down really hard. Near the end, I remove the newsprint on top and press directly onto my printing paper. I'm not sure if this is going to help, but we will see. And this is the first print. It's a little faint, but it's not too bad. Most all of the scratches did pick up, though the ink in them wasn't enough on a lot of the head to make them impactful. Perhaps I cleaned the plate too much. But there are some lovely hints at glorious texture going on. Look at these feathered patches where the surface layer was removed. Definite promise. So let's ink up again, and this time leave a bit more ink on the plate for my paper to pick up. So on this second scrim, I'm being a lot gentler, just swishing lightly across the surface, taking ink away very gradually. As more of the plate starts to show, I try to make my movements more intentional, letting some curved swishes of ink stay on the plate. I'm thinking they might give this owl a more moody, grungy vibe. By the way, I really love the inadvertent inky frame I've created on the newsprint. So satisfying! So, after dampening another sheet of paper and pressing the print for what felt like ages, I did keep having sneaky peeks to see whether or not I had missed spots, and yes, I always had. This is the result. Ooh, what do you think? I like this version a lot better, but then I think I generally like Drypoints when they're a bit grungy. I really enjoy the faint swishes of ink which cut across that right eye, and it's interesting how some of the tiny V shapes around the neck have actually come out more as negative white lines. As much as I kept checking, there was still this bit of the corner frame which I missed. Dret and double dret. But can we all just take a moment to marvel at how textured the lines in Drypoint are? You really do sense the scratchy urgency in them, but at the same time, there is a softness and dustiness to the lines which fuzz your viewing of them. Personally, I love it a lot. So that's where I'm leaving this plate today. The nice thing about Drypoint is that even once you've printed a plate, you can still go back into it with the etching needle and add more detail. So if I fancy it another day, I might add in a bit more contrast around the neck. Usually when I'm using a plastic plate, I know it'll last for a good long while, but seeing as this is paper, I'm assuming it has a shorter lifespan. I'm also not sure how many prints I'll be able to chuck out before it loses its definition. But I'm not a professional printmaker, so it's not like I'll be doing big print runs or anything. I did enjoy experimenting with this surface. I wouldn't say it's better than plastic, it's just different. I do still enjoy using plastic due to its transparency. It makes it so easy to trace a reference or a sketch if you want to, and depending on the type of plastic, I can sometimes see my scratches easier on it. But it is nice to have an option where I can easily combine Drypoint and Collagraph by tearing the surface away. Anywho, thanks so much for watching. It's been lovely having you pop by. You're always welcome here, you know that, right? I hope you enjoyed this little printmaking playtime, and I really hope you have gotten a little bit intrigued by Drypoint. I think it's a really cool process. Drop an owl in the comments if you made it this far, because we have all been in this together. Pun giggles. It means a lot that you've stayed and listened to my jibber jabber. Also, let me know if my owl sketch has come out looking sadder than the reference. Is it me, or does it have a melancholy look in its eye? Don't forget to click the like button if this video has tickled you in any way. It helps the video to fly further and find like-minded, printy, inky humans. And if you fancy more of this creative randomness, the subscribe button can deliver my future videos direct to your homepage. Nifty! Until we meet again, stay curious, keep making happy, and I will see you next time.